I've already made the script for you today. I won't go over everything specifically, but I'll give you a general idea of what I'm using and how I'm using it. So this part is simply a part of the original script. You might want to add things here in other scripts, but not in this one. You only need these three basic. Here the puppet class, you can name it to what you like. You would want to add an animator, and you can also call this what you like. You'll need 4 bools, one for when the player is on the collider, one for when the door is being activated, and 2 for when the door is opening or closing. I added an audio source and an audio. Again, this is just a name. And I added 2 audio clips, one for when the door closes here, and for when the door opens. Also, I added a game object, which I named door UI, and this will simply be activated and deactivated when the player enters the trigger, and deactivated when he exits the trigger. And this line of code here is important as well. This is sort of specifying that if the collider, which is entering the trigger, has a tag which is player, then and only then will this be true. And if you don't have this, you might, for example, be entering with a cube or another form of collider which isn't a player, and that will not then be that will also activate the trigger, but that's not what you want. You want when the player enters the door, that's when you want the text to pop up and the on switch to be true, the bool. And I also made a public void, which will be accessed later, because there is some latency to where I want the door to close. So this is simply, I access the animation, which I declared in the above, and I set the trigger to black door closes. So this is a black door, and I'll show you later what I'm accessing here, and you can name this whatever you like as well. But it has to be named exactly as the trigger you will set later in the inspector. Also, I'd set the bool to false here, which will simply disallow any repetition of the same animation. And I play an audio clip, which is when the door closes. Here I simply declare a few things. For example, if the door updated close animation is not being played with reference to this exclamation mark, then the bool door status will be set to true. While if the animation is playing door updated open, i.e. if the door is opening, the allow door open is set to true. And if the close animation is not playing, then the door open is set to false. And here, this is very basic. I simply say that if I'm on the trigger, and if the door status bool is true, which is just being turned on here, and if the allow door close, which is being accessed over here, is set to false with reference to the exclamation mark, and the player presses E, the animation trigger will be set, the black door opens. So essentially, if all this criteria is true, and he presses E, and the door will open, and the bool, which allows door close, will be set to true, enabling the door to be closed again. And I play one audio clip with it, which is the door opening. And this is simply that if you press E within the trigger, and with the allow door close being true, which it is being set when you press it the first time, you will invoke this function over here, and this 10 will simply say it's waiting for 10 seconds. You can delete this if you like, if you don't want any latency or delay. I like a delay, so I put it there. And this void will simply be activated and played after 10 seconds. So that's the gist of the script. Okay, so in order to actually implement the script into something we can use in Unity, you will want to first create an empty game object, which will sort of be a placeholder for the door. So you just name it door placeholder. And then you will, inside this object, want to create a cube, which will then be the door. You could use a model for this, absolutely. But this is how I do it with Unity without any models. And you will also want to see the pivot point here, where the axes are aligned. You will want to make the door so that the pivot point here is in the left corner of the door, so that when you rotate this axis, the door opens and closes as such. You won't have to do this if you make your own model. It will be a lot easier. Just place the pivot point there directly on the object. But since we don't have that here, we have to make it like this. You'll want to add, this cube already has a collider, so it will be interactable with the player. You will however want to add a box collider, which will be acting as a trigger. So let's pull this down so that's in the floor, and simply increase the size a bit to make the player comfortably within the zone when he approaches the door. And you want to set this to isTrigger, so that it's not actually a collider which blocks him from moving. And you will want to create an animation now. Just hit create and call it door animation, and just do this. In the first frame, keep it to, I do this, then I change it. I don't want it to rotate, just keep it at 0. And then when the first frame here, just drag it to say 90. That should be a pretty clear opening, like that. And then you want to create a new clip, which is door animation 2 or 1, which will be the close. And then you will want to set this one to 90 at the first frame, and in the last frame here just bring it back to 0, and it will be as if the door closes. Now that you have the animations, you will want to, already have a door placeholder. This is the animator controller. You will want to access this. You want to create an empty game object, which will be set to the default state, so it starts there. Now this is the close, and you want to create a transition so that in the first frame it just accesses the close animation, so the door remains closed. And then you want to create a transition here and one back, so that they can switch open and close. And here you want to create 2 triggers, one which will be called door open trigger, and another one which you can call door close trigger. And so you want to add the door open trigger for when the animation is going from close to open, and the reverse when it's going from open to close. So door close trigger when it goes back, and door open when it goes there. Okay, nice. And also you want to access your animation, so you have the different animations here. Just uncheck the loop time, and you'll spare yourself the really ugly, I'll show you how it looks. if I have this checked and I play, it should look okay. No, wrong animation. Let me look. If I check this one and I play, it loops, and that we don't want that. So just uncheck them both. Apparently, I have to do this separately. Now, simply add the script you just created. Mine is called black door script because my door is black. Oh, that was not black, but anyway. You want to add some audio if you like. Just add an audio source. Attach this to that one. You want to create a UI canvas, and in the canvas create a text. I like to make it like this. Open door, and I have a font here. I won't be making it so detailed now because it's just a tutorial. Not do the door, but I can show you in a later video how to make nice looking UI elements. So there's the basic thing. You want this to be checked and unchecked whenever you enter the door's trigger. So attach this canvas to the door UI. I have door sounds here, so I just attach them. Door closes, and that will simply, I think we have to do a few things more, but I think the sounds will be, if I do this and I press E, you hear the door sound, but nothing happens to the door, and I'll explain why. So the script we made is actually applied to a different real-time object, and if we access it here, you can see that the animations is not called the same as we named them for our object. So there is a simple, really simple fix you have to do to get this working for yourself. I'll show you in the script actually. Just the triggers I explained earlier, you know, those we created in the inspector, right here, these triggers, they have to be named exactly as the triggers you set, you know, the animation.set trigger. They have to be identically named. And if you want to access an animation, you like I do here, you know, you make these if statements to change the booleans. They also have to be named exactly as the animations you created in the inspector. So here, my animation is called door updated close. That does not reference to this animation because we named them door animation 1 and door animation. So all you have to do to get this working is simply change this and this and this to the referenced animation. So here I would change this one to door animation 1, and here door animation, and here door animation 1. The rest you can keep as it is. It's just booleans and player tags and such, so it should work seamlessly. Just change the trigger references here and the animation references, and it should work really smoothly. I'll show you how my other door works. So when I enter it, press E, it opens. I can go behind it and I set the delay to 10 seconds, and after 10 seconds it will close and play that sound. So simply change the booleans and it will work exactly the same for your door. Thank you for listening and have a great day.